right. Great to see you all. Thanks for David and the Techonomy team for having me. I wanted to spend a few minutes and open up some thoughts about the Internet of Everything. We talk about it as the physical graph, but this sort of world of connected, all of the everyday objects coming online and sort of the implications for that. So I'll spend a minute or two just give you a little bit of context on SmartThings, my company, so that you have the background and where I'm coming from. And then I'll show you a very quick demo. It's hard to talk about the Internet of Everything without having some connected things. And then we'll give you our perspective on some of the industries that I think are going to be touched by this technology wave over the course of the coming years. So our vision at SmartThings is we're trying to build an open platform for the Internet of Things. So a place where users and all of their connected devices can come together in one spot and be joined together with device makers that are inventing new types of connected objects, and by developers that want to build software that sort of operates the physical world in new and creative ways. And our effort with that is sort of as an open platform to help society, that sort of those groups come together and make the world smarter together. And as David was saying, it's a very big ambition, and we've been very fortunate to have this sort of support a large and growing community around our platform so far. So we've been trying, a lot of these technologies are intersecting. We've been trying to make them accessible to the everyday consumer, and this is my real phone projecting up here, so we might get some text from my wife and other things will go along the way. Trying to make it easy enough and elegant enough for everyday non-technology people to begin to use this in their own life. So our sort of internal mission is 5 minutes, taking some things out of a box and being up and running and solving sort of a life problem for a consumer. And you don't need to be a technologist. Just have a smartphone and take one of these kits in for a few $100s, solve a meaningful life problem, and then grow from there. I think the opportunity in this space is to add intelligence in the cloud. It's not stuck on the end devices, but to bring the power of the internet and the connected world to bear into the smallest and simplest of connected objects. And then again, as I said, we're making an open platform to both developers and device makers with several thousand device makers and developers already sort of up and running on the platform. So I thought I'd switch over and sort of give you a very live sort of context for it very quickly, and just give you a sense, an inkling of what's possible and happening every day out there right now. So we provide an open platform. You can get a kit that has you take a few things out of the box, and there's ways for those to automatically connect to the internet, and in a few minutes make a consumer smartphone into the remote control for all of their everyday stuff. And so this is like a simple view of the SmartThings interface, simplified for the stage. I could show you my house as well, but there's a few connected device examples on the stage here. This is a little simple sensor that knows that I picked it up, and it's called the jewelry case, so I'm getting a notification that somebody moved my jewels. I could have as an example another device that is my front door, which it'll know if that is open or closed from anywhere, and I could be, again, anywhere in the world for that to be happening. Of course, it's an open platform, so there's already more than 1,000 connected device types that can work with SmartThings. And so there's examples of off-the-shelf locks of all different sorts where I could remotely lock my door from anywhere in the world. Of course, lights that I can turn on and off, and so on and so forth. Sense moisture, sense sort of anything about the environment, and control anything in the environment within a few minutes from my smartphone. On top of that, we think that the programmable world and bringing software and intelligence to these everyday objects is one of the most profound aspects of this wave. And so we've created a platform for what we call smart apps, where an open community of developers and device inventors are creating all sorts of new applications of all different sorts for controlling these everyday world objects on different ways. So I'm going to show you a very, very simple example. I'm going to pick an application called Let There Be Light, which I can tell it when the front door opens. I'm going to turn on a specific light. I'll turn on the foyer light, which is this one here. Sort of discover and install a smart app. And then if I were to just come home and open the front door, now, as a result of that activity, sort of what's my foyer light is going to turn on in response to that event and turn off when I shut it in this case. So through this sort of open catalog and developer platform, we see developers building applications of deep complexity in some cases, in other cases very simple, that can go in and reach into this physical world of data and abstract information and control these things in all sorts of different ways. So automate the whole arc of your day in a sort of a Jetsons-like way and impact lots of different things. So that's a little taste of the platform. I'll sort of move on from that and talk about the big picture for a few minutes, which I think is the theme for this conference, and I'm excited to interact with all of you on it. So what's really happening here is that companies like us, basically the entire world of objects is going to be connected over the next 5 to 10 years. The technologies are available and so inexpensive that the everyday objects, anything that can be connected for a purpose, will be connected. And through that, the sort of very big implication is that suddenly all of the previously sort of dumb objects that have been offline for millennia in the world will become controllable with software. And we can sort of make the world much more intelligent and crazy in lots of facets of life. So the reasons this is happening now, there's a lot of facets to it. Certainly the maturation of sort of networking technologies that makes it cheap and possible to put a radio in any sort of device, connect it up, and sort of interact with it from anywhere. I think the smartphone revolution, personally, is sort of the biggest bow wave to why this is happening now, because this has put the perfect console for interacting with an intelligent and connected world into your pocket, and users expect, when they use a smartphone, to use it as the remote control for the rest of your life. And when they see like the types of things that we're doing, they expect to be able to remotely control everything in their life from this device. And then finally, because of robotics manufacturing and 3D printing and other things like that, there's a hardware renaissance occurring where it's easier and easier to create new types of connected objects and disrupt space after space. And I think Fitbit and Nest and so many other examples are out there to show examples of that. So why now? So some of the big implications. So just for a second, let me give you some real data points. So my house right now has a couple of hundred connected devices in it. It can sense who's home, which rooms we're in, what the temperature and the humidity and motion, and it can turn anything on and off, and it can control the thermostats and the door locks and so on. And so in a fairly mature connected home like this, on an average day right now, there's 75,000 messages going between my house, all of these everyday objects, and our cloud platform. It's an enormous amount of data, and that sort of little snippet on the right-hand side is 90 seconds of data coming from my hub that exists in my home. So what are the opportunities? If you can listen to anything and control anything with open web-based software, what are the things you can go after? And it's just an enormous, opportunity that affects every facet of our life. So going into some examples of this. Security, just take a handful. Any human that you interact with, if you ask them if they'd like some form of lightweight security system in their life around their stuff, they will say yes. 85% of people will say yes. Only 15% of people in the population have some form of security system, and of those, maybe half are active, and mostly all of them hate it. Right? There's a big open space there to, in a lightweight way, build a hyper-intelligent, sort of connected, secure systems that let you be aware of an environment and not worry about what's going on. So there's a big opportunity there. In energy, without changing any behavior, the things where you tell people you have to turn off the lights yourself and sort of adjust the thermostat and all that on your own, they never sort of end up changing human behavior. In this hyper-connected world, it can do it for you without it even being visible at all to the user. When you leave, things turn off. When you're sort of back and in anticipation of your arrival, they can turn on in the right ways to adjust the environment. That sort of impact, there's lots of studies out there, but sort of 18 to 30% tends to be the range of immediately accessible energy efficiency and savings to go after in households and businesses and so on. That is sort of half the carbon footprint reduction goals on a sort of planet-wide basis that are easily attackable through lots of these implementations of these connected little and smarter things. Another example of an industry, insurance. An average household will spend $5,000 a year on insurance of different forms. What happens to the insurance industry, which is built around actuarial risk, when you have perfect information from the environment? What happens to flood insurance when you have a little detector that you can leave on your floor and it'll know immediately if there's actually a flood or not? So another industry ripe for sort of a lot of change with this Internet of Everything. And I won't go through all the facets, but other phases of life too. Connected, health. What amount of information is there in the environment to sort of, my family has a history of heart troubles. What will the pattern recognition be that can sort of help me live a longer and healthier life, and many other facets. Crime, premeditated crime should be nearly impossible in this sort of hyper-connected world, and there's other downside risks of that as well. An aging population, can they live independently for a longer period of time as a result of these things? Yes. And so it goes through every facet of our life, and I think it's the biggest wave coming in technology in the next 10 years.